Hey y'all. Okay, so I have been trying to go live, and I don't know. There must be something wrong with the internet connection. I'm not sure, but I'm gonna try and just record and then post. Post it to YouTube. I'll post it to different platforms. Give me a second. I'm about to plug in my earplugs. Earplugs. AirPods. Um, Sorry about that. But yeah, I wanted to continue the what I've started, the 30 days of going live. But listen, things happen, so we're gonna have to improvise. I do have some notes. There are things that I wanted to make sure I said, especially today. Today is day 9, and we are focused on student input. And once again, if you're just checking out these videos, they are based off of my planner, Equitable Grading in STEM, the planner. It's a 30-day transformational planner. I'm actually working on some things to update it, and I'm excited about it because as I continue to talk about what I care about and continue to work with people, the reality is you continue to grow and improve. And so I'm going to be working on some new things with that. But yeah, today is day 9, as I said, student input. And I always like to begin with a quote. I'm also starting to get the hang, I know it took 9 days, but starting to get the hang of a format that I like. And so today's quote is from the one and only Zaretta Hammond, who has a new book out as well. I don't have it yet, but I will be getting it soon, and I'm excited about that. But her original book, Culturally Responsive Teaching in the Brain, really talked a lot about empowering students and building trust and trust generators. And as educators, that's what we should do. So the quote for today is, empowering students means trusting their abilities to learn. And that's from Zaretta Hammond. And so what I'd love for you to do is to think today, the reflection prompt is, how can I or how can you include students in the grading conversation? And in order to do that, you want to consider a couple of things. Why it matters. So this is something that I'm going to be adding on a more regular basis, the why it matters. So when students are invited to the grading process, they don't just feel heard, they actually learn how to reflect on growth. They learn how to advocate for themselves, and they learn how to better understand what mastery looks like. So equity in grading isn't only about the teacher's side and what the teacher is doing and from the teacher's lens. It's also about ensuring that the standards and the way we measure it are something that also resonates with the learners, resonates with the students that we're meaning to serve, right? And that way our intent will more directly match our impact when we do that. So some of the ways that we can do this, and one of the ways that's highlighted currently in the planner, is to draft some questions for a student survey about grading fairness. But I would say you could also have survey questions that have students discuss assessment formats, right? So what are some of the projects, labs, or oral explanations, or even some traditional tests which feel most accurate in capturing what the students understand and their ability to demonstrate their growth in their understanding. Another way to include students would be to co-create some of the rubrics, invite students to help define what quality will look like in a particular project. Even in small tweaks can help and give them some ownership, right? Where students are able to generate some of the examples of what proficient or excellent work might look like when creating our rubrics. Another example is choice assessments. So giving students choices in the way that they would like to demonstrate their mastery. So you might have a specific project that you've outlined, or you might have some specific types of tests or quizzes or questions that you want to give students more of a choice. So written explanations versus a video walkthrough or something that they model that's related to the work. Another way is through peer dialogue, facilitating class discussions with students about what fairness, especially fairness in grading, might look like. And doing that early on in the school year can help you start to tweak some of your current assessment practices and even some of the ways that you have been envisioning fairness. And then the last way to include students may be through some self-assessments, right? Teaching students how to evaluate their own work, again, is priceless, because it's going to enable them to set some standards, to actually have the lens and develop the lens for excellence, and it'll help them to also define criteria for what excellence will look like, so that they can become partners in the process rather than just passive recipients of grades, right? So here's the action that I'd like you to take. I'd love for you to draft a student survey with questions, and some of those questions might look like which types of assignments best show what you've learned. Have you ever felt like a grade didn't reflect your true understanding? Why? Getting students to respond to some questions along those lines. And I think what would be really, really great is if you ask them some questions around, and I'm looking at my notes here, what kinds of feedback help you grow the most? Now, we know that direct feedback, we know that specific feedback is helpful, but it's great to let the students communicate that and be able to communicate that to you, so that you can also show that, hey, we're on the same page. This is what the direction I've been moving in anyway, right? I can think of creating surveys where I ask students the types of assessments that best reflect, as I said, their understanding, but then invite them to also suggest some alternative ways to demonstrate mastery. But the key here is letting them know, as we talked about in previous days, that we have already identified the standards that we want them to master. So now, as they're creating the assignments, get them to communicate how this particular assignment is going to demonstrate mastery of that particular standard. And then engage them in a discussion around whether it is or isn't. That while, yes, it may be fun to create this video project on this particular topic, but if it does not accurately assess the standard, then is this a true alternative assessment, right? And those are the types of conversations that we want to ensure that we're engaging students in, so that we are bringing their voice to the table and that they feel that they are providing input in their learning and are co-collaborators in this journey towards expertise. So that's all that I have for today. Sorry that the live wasn't working for some reason. Hopefully it will be tomorrow, but I'm going to post this video just as I had to do on day one. Not live, but still posting the information because it is still important. And remember, as I close every session this month and 30 days, and that is that every grade tells a story. So let it be one worth telling. All right, thank you.